That life has no meaning is not a tragedy. It is the beginning of freedom. Albert Camus. Before we begin, here's a small ritual. Write in the comments one word that accurately describes your current state. Sign it, and let's get started. Dawn stirs without melody. A pale stripe of cold light creeps along the floor and stops at bare toes. A lone figure sits on the edge of the bed, palms resting on knees, hearing only the slow grind of the city below. Objects wait in silence. A cup with a lip crack, a coat still holding last winter's smoke, a file of books whose titles once sparked bright faith. Now paper smells of dust and yesterday's rain. Every color is drained to the sober gray of cooling ash. The figure rises, bored sigh under weight that feels heavier than flesh. In the mirror, a face appears unchanged, yet something behind the eyes has caved like rotten timber. Memory offers the old talismans of purpose, yet they crumble between mental fingers. The beloved vocation, the shared dreams, even the gentle myths soaked up from storybooks, all collapse into a quiet heap. It is not tragedy, only the untended rust of illusion. A window slides open on hinges that need oil. Outside, rooftops bend toward pale horizon. The first workers move like shadows, carrying coffee steam and routine chatter. Their steps match traffic lights and elevator chimes, an orchestra repeating the same refrain each dawn. Watching them, the figure tastes a hollow sweetness, like fruit picked too late. Life proceeds with mechanical certainty, yet the gears are churning nothing worth grinding. Inside, the room chills. Breath rises in faint mist. The heart, startled by this clean emptiness, beats as if alone in a vast hall. Each pulse echoes against ribs, unsoftened by distraction. The senses search for anchors and find none. There is no master plot, no divine cue, only the raw fact of presence. The air itself whispers that meaning was always a borrowed garment stitched by trembling hands. The corridor beyond fills with fluorescent hum. Neighbors march toward elevators, faces set, eyes unfocused. Polite nods exchange without contact. Every gesture feels rehearsed long before birth, as though a hidden director dictates the scene. The figure moves with them, yet not among them, weightless inside a bubble of new seeing. A child drops a toy. Plastic rattles on tile. For a breath, the child stares, puzzled by gravity's quiet law. The mother tugs the sleeve, urging forward. The toy remains on the floor, abandoned to echoing footsteps. The figure bends, lifts the small thing, but the child is already swallowed by the crowd. Turning the toy in hand, the wanderer senses the first truth of morning. Everything treasured will one day lie unattended. Street air brings the flavor of wet asphalt mixed with exhaust. A tram bell rings. Screens flare colors that promise better skin, brighter futures, effortless smiles. People glance, absorb, continue. The city feeds on longing and returns polished emptiness. Beneath neon glow, the figure feels an unexpected serenity, cold yet honest, like stepping into a clear mountain stream. There is no false warmth, no cushion against blunt edges. Only awareness, as sharp as shard glass catching sun. Feet carry forward without map. An alley opens beside a bakery where warm bread scent curls upward. Hunger stirs, but not for food. It is hunger to touch the bedrock beneath all slogans, to hear the quiet engine of existence without buffers of habit. The wanderer leans against brick, eyes closed, letting the scent pass through unclaimed. In this pause, the absurd arrives fully, a silent companion who does not negotiate. It lays a hand on the shoulder, neither comforting nor cruel. It simply points inward. You are here, it seems to say, and nothing owes you why. The statement bears no punctuation, no explanation. Yet within its blunt light, something tender begins to glow. The faint outline of freedom. Freedom does not trumpet. It breathes gently, inviting a new kind of motion. Without the weight of promised purpose, steps grow lighter. The street remains the street. The schedule still ticks forward, but the chain between body and soul has snapped. Room opens for unscripted breath, for choices unhooked from approval. The wanderer inhales, holds, releases. The exhale drifts like pale smoke into morning chill. Sirens wail, dogs bark, lovers quarrel behind closed blinds. All continues, yet nothing is the same. Skin senses naked wind. The heart feels its own uncluttered rhythm. And in that rhythm, a vow is born, silent yet firm. Walk deeper into this emptiness until it rings with authentic sound. Most terrifying is not the absence of meaning. Most terrifying is the habit of living as though the borrowed meaning were unbreakable stone. Morning thickens into a gray hum. The avenues heave with bodies pulled along by unseen magnets, each step clicking into the next like teeth in a gear. Neon banners ripple across glass facades, repeating messages polished smooth by endless exposure. Inside every skull a metronome ticks, whispering schedules, obligations, polite lies. Hands grasp commuter mugs. Fingers swipe badges. Mouths rehearse greetings, taught long ago. The city breathes as one enormous algorithm and names the rhythm ordinary. The wanderer slips among the currents, wrapped in the quiet, left by dawn's revelation. Eyes linger on faces half hidden behind devices, noticing pupils that drift without landing. Laughter crackles from a doorway, bright yet detached, a sound more memorized than felt. Advertisements bloom on walls, promising transformation through fabric, fragrance, status. Each offer feeds the very hunger it deepens, a loop spinning faster than thought can track. A plaza unfolds before a mirrored tower. Marble benches glisten with cold invitation. Fountain jets rise and fall in rehearsed arcs. At the center stands an antique clock wrought of bronze and patience. With every toll, the mechanism inside the crowd tightens. Spines straighten, strides lengthen, shoulders harden beneath invisible yokes. The bell declares the hour, and thousands of bodies obey without conscious assent. The wanderer halts beneath the clock. The chime reverberates through ribs, prying open a view beneath the surface. Habit reveals itself as a second skin woven from expectation. Childhood dreams, parental scripts, cultural myths, each thread dyed by fear of exclusion. Together they form armor heavier than iron, yet so familiar it passes for flesh. In that flash of clarity, the armor feels optional. Traffic surges, yet time appears to slow. Sneakers scuff pavement, heels strike in regimented cadence. Breaths align with traffic lights blinking green to red. Every pattern is precise, as if an unseen conductor guides the mass. But the conductor is only inertia propagated across generations until resistance seems unthinkable. Memories surface, a classroom scented with chalk, a teacher declaring that diligent compliance ensures reward. Family dinners where silence greeted questions about worth beyond achievement. The wanderer tastes that stale doctrine, sees how it sculpted limbs into tools of convenience, never malicious, merely unconscious. Wind brushes the face, stirring a restless heat beneath the sternum. The absurd, discovered at dawn, now whispers a dare. Step outside the loop. The dare ignites nerves like sparks along copper wire. Muscles tighten with ancestral caution, then release. One foot pivots away from the flowing herd, planting on stone with deliberate drag. The second foot follows, breaking the rhythm. A subtle rupture ripples outward. Strangers glance, then quickly look away, unsettled by deviation. Crossing the plaza in this new angle feels like cutting cross-grain through fabric. Instead of the designated walkway, the wanderer veers toward a side street lined with shuttered shops. Paint peels and honest flakes, revealing stories beneath glossy veneer. A stray cat watches from a fire escape, golden eyes reflecting impartial curiosity. The animal moves when it chooses, not when the bell rings. Heart beats slow, becoming audible between distant engines. With every pulse, the mind sheds another instruction. Dress to impress, speak to appease, rush to stay relevant. Beneath the debris emerges a clear awareness, a field of untamed potential. The wanderer senses how swiftly identity calcifies around convenience, how easily a living soul becomes maintenance crew for someone else's design. Boarded windows give way to a neglected courtyard where ivy overtakes a stone arch. Beyond lies a garden once manicured by civic pride, now surrendered to wilderness. Roses blaze amid weeds, crimson and ivory explosions, defying municipal neglect. The wanderer kneels, inhales their scent laced with soil and decay. Beauty here is unlicensed, untimed, indifferent to quarterly goals. It lives because life insists on expression even in broken places. Hands muddy, knees damp, the wanderer grasps Camus' revolt of consciousness. Awareness of absurdity does not paralyze, it ignites. It breaks the hypnotic wheel and presents raw choice. Rejoin the conveyor or wander deeper into uncharted hours. Both demand effort, yet only one pays in lived experience. Rising, fingers trace rough brick, each groove confirming presence. No task list records this gesture, yet it nourishes something older than ambition. In that contact, persona evaporates, leaving personhood bright as sunlight piercing low cloud. While a costume guides your movements, the face beneath cannot recognize its own desire. Late afternoon leaks into the city like spilled ink, darkening corners and stretching every moving thing. The wanderer slips down a narrow lane until asphalt crumbles to gravel. Gravel softens to packed earth, and beneath a sagging wire fence, earth opens into a wild meadow. No sign forbids entry, no path points ahead. The hush here is older than architecture, a quiet that does not ask permission from clocks. Grass brushes knees, rich with sap and tiny heartbeats of hidden insects. Each blade tilts toward a sky undecided between brightness and night. In this suspended hour, the absurd expands like cathedral arches overhead, immense yet tender, offering more air than lungs can hold. A wind stirs. Trees at the meadow's rim respond with gentle applause, leaves clapping for the bare miracle of existence. No sermon accompanies the music, no billboard explains its weight. The world speaks a language without grammar. Comprehension happens in blood rather than thought. Small stones crunch underfoot as the wanderer climbs a low ridge. From its crest, the city lies below, luminous veins threading concrete organs. The machine continues, unaware that one of its cogs now watches from rolling grass, an escaped gear studying the engine it once served. Distance performs alchemy. Towers shrink to models, noise to whisper, urgency to faint memory. Only pulse remains, a subtle throb in soles and palms, echoing distant turbines yet refusing their compulsion. The throb announces a raw truth. Nothing owns inherent worth, therefore everything may be chosen for its vividness alone. Kneeling, the wanderer presses fingers into cool soil. Darkness of humus clings to skin, reminding body and mind that every empire will settle back into anonymous earth. Instead of dread, warmth rises. If endings arrive for all things, beginnings can be fearless. Action need not serve salvation. It can celebrate simple aliveness. Breath eases until chest scarcely moves. Awareness widens beyond flesh, embracing beetles and moss, clouds sliding west, even the inner tremor of organs at work. The absurd no longer resembles a void. It becomes a mirror polished by nothingness. In its reflection stands a being unshackled from justification, free to invent meaning the way children invent games at dusk, instinctive, joyful, unafraid of silence. Standing, the wanderer stretches until shoulders pop, muscles thrumming with promise rather than tension. No tribunal will grade the next gesture. That knowledge tastes of iron and honey, strangely grounding. Feet tip forward into a slow run. Dew arcs from each stride. Heartbeats drum approval. Exhalations leave proof that flesh can answer only to itself. When lungs burn and legs tremble, motion softens. Sunset finally commits, flooding the ridge with amber and wine. Light pours across sweat-slick arms like molten glass, transforming skin into momentary armor. For a breath, the wanderer feels both sculpture and sculptor, shaped by brilliance while choosing the stance. A single certainty threads through veins. The absence of decreed meaning is the birthplace of untamed power. The revelation carries no crown, issues no command, yet it burns like a naked flame. It does not coerce, it invites. Slowly the wanderer descends toward emerging city lights. Dusk draped across shoulders like a cloak woven from first-found power. Each step sparks futures, poems unwritten, kindness undimmed by cynicism, creation owing nothing to markets. None is promised, yet all glow with the lure of spontaneous invention. At the meadow's edge, fireflies ignite, lanterns adrift among weeds. Their glow needs no narrative, it simply happens, blessing the night with gentle electricity. The absurd, too, glimmers like that, unjustified, uncontained, luminous in its refusal to conform. When no meaning is assigned by decree, every gesture can blaze with sovereign intent. Evening drifts in on smoky lavender light, slipping beneath doorways and pooling in stairwells where fluorescent bulbs flicker like uncertain thoughts. The wanderer returns to city streets carrying meadow dust on boots and a strange hush in the bloodstream. Crowds thin. Those who hurry now chase comfort rather than conquest. Restaurant windows glow amber, promising warmth, flavor, and easy end to the day. Inside, diners share practiced smiles, lifting glasses to fragile forecasts of better tomorrows. Hope perfumes the air the way cinnamon masks old grease. Sweet, familiar, slightly desperate. The wanderer pauses at a corner where yellow leaflets cling to lampposts. Each sheet advertises a new path to fulfillment. Investment secrets, perfect romances, bodies chiseled by painless routines. The ink gleams under sodium lamps like wet scales. Every headline hums the same lullaby. Wait a little longer and everything will bloom. Hope sells the future like a carnival barker, bright banners fluttering over rickety rides. Hands reach up and tear one leaflet free. Paper rustles, thin and eager to promise. Words tumble across the page, mapping shortcuts to happiness not yet earned. A slow exhale escapes the wanderer's lips, steady as winter wind. Fingers curl, crushing the leaflet into a tight bud, then release it to the gutter where rain will turn it to pulp by dawn. A quiet vow settles into bones. Enough postponement. Hope once perched on the shoulder like a delicate bird, crooning of miraculous rescues and last-minute reprieves. Its song eased pain, but it also numbed nerve endings, dulled colors, blurred edges that demanded action. Tonight, the wanderer feels the bird's phantom weight lifting, leaving skin tingling with exposed electricity. Without hope's cotton insulation, every sensation becomes naked, cold, and vividly true. A bar door swings open nearby, spilling brass laughter and amber light. Music pulses, inviting. Hope would push the wanderer inside, promising warmth, easy company, the gentle fiction of belonging. Instead, boots turn away toward a darkened park where rusted swings creak an occasional breeze. The grass there carries no illusions. It smells of wet soil and honest decay. Moonlight shards through skeletal branches, stippling ground with shifting silver. The wanderer finds a bench slick with mist and sits, letting breath rise in pale ribbons. No agenda, no rehearsal, just the raw rhythm of lungs working, heart thudding, mind listening to its own echoes. With hope dismissed, presence arrives like thunder muffled inside velvet. Every sound magnifies, distant tires hissing on asphalt, a lone dog barking 3 streets away, the soft drip of condensation from metal slide to muddy earth. Each detail feels both tender and immense. Thought drifts to childhood evenings when imagination turned backyards into kingdoms. Back then, there was no hope of tomorrow's spectacle. Play itself was sufficient. Every twig became a scepter, every puddle a sea. That purity returns now, not as regression, but as resurrection. The absence of promised reward reawakens immediate splendor. Eyes close. Darkness presses gently against lids, and within that darkness sparks flicker, memories, wishes, unresolved grief. Hope once folded these sparks into neat envelopes marked later. Now they scatter, igniting small, honest fires in the chest. The wanderer lets them burn, neither fanning nor smothering. Pain flares, joy flares, both equal in the blaze. Tears rise unbidden and fall without shame, salting lips that taste the world anew. Minutes stretch, lose meaning, then dissolve. When eyes open, the park appears revealed, as if seen for the first time. Mist glows where moonlight meets grass, forming halos around discarded bottles and forgotten toys. Imperfection no longer begs correction. It simply testifies that life persists through cracks. Presence is not perfection. Presence is contact without cushion. Standing, the wanderer feels ground push back through soles, a silent reminder of mutual belonging. Arms lift, shoulders roll, breath expands into the night chill. Movement happens without motive beyond delight in cartilage gliding, muscles contracting. Dance begins, slow and disjointed, evolving into wide arcs that scatter droplets of dew. There is no audience, no rhythm track, yet the body invents music from pulse alone. Eventually stillness returns. Heart beats slow, clothes cling damp with sweat and mist. Somewhere beyond trees a siren wails, then fades. The world does not applaud this private ritual, yet the wanderer senses a subtle shift. An inner axis realigned from waiting toward inhabiting. Leaving the park, footsteps sound lighter, unburdened by imagined futures. Streetlights blur in peripheral vision, each bulb a small sun existing solely for now. A cafe sign flickers closed, letters sputtering then dark. Hope might mourn lost coffee. Presence savors the hush that follows. Doorways pass, windows darken, sky pales toward near midnight indigo. The wanderer stops before a quiet apartment block and traces fingertips along brick chilled by autumn breath. No lock clicks open, no refuge claimed. Instead, gaze lifts to rooftop edges guarding secrets against stars. Life remains precarious, lodging uncertain, yet the heart beats steady, confident that shelter lies wherever breath continues. A whisper curls through consciousness, soft yet fierce. When hope is slaughtered, intention inherits the throne. No promise cushions that rule, yet power infused with immediacy feels more solid than any distant reward. The wanderer turns once more into the street, footsteps echoing a new cadence, deliberate and irrepressible. Behind, the park keeps its silver secrets. Ahead, avenues spool into unseen miles. Neither destination nor destiny matters. Only stride, only breath, only the bright coal of presence glowing in the hollow where hope once sat. Hope escapes toward tomorrow. Presence claims every inch of tonight. Night spreads across rooftops like dark velvet threaded with restless sparks. Amber street lamps cast shrinking halos, revealing brief tableaus of ordinary endurance. A courier pedaling against wind, an elderly pair shuffling arm in arm, a cat crouched before an alley feast of shadows. Into this unremarkable nocturne, the wanderer walks, pulse steady, eyes clear, carrying the meadow's ember under the ribs. Mortality strolls beside the traveler, no longer a looming verdict but a companion of exacting honesty. It drags neither scythe nor ticking clock. It merely keeps pace, reminding flesh that every inhale spins an irretrievable coin. Instead of tightening fear, that knowledge sharpens appetite. Flavor intensifies, skin hears the air, even weariness tingles with savor. Life, weighed against its certain ceiling, flares fierce as untamed fire. A shuttered bakery breathes crust and seed into the night. Hunger answers, yet there is no haste. The craving itself becomes an event worth dwelling in, a small festival of nerve and anticipation. Beneath a burnt-out awning, a homeless man dozes, palms curled round an empty cup. Coins might soothe tomorrow, but the wanderer kneels and places a share of bread beside those weathered fingers. Generosity asks no why. It leaps, delighted to witness its own flight. Music drifts from a dim bar, thick with smoke and brass fatigue. The door hangs ajar. Inside, a trumpet laments heartbreak glazed with bourbon while a drummer keeps time like a heart refusing surrender. The wanderer lingers, sipping each riff as though it were the final sound on earth. No recording, no sharing, no conversion into value. Pure listening completes the transaction. When the solo fades, steps resume, leaving memory warm and unencumbered. A bronze statue holds court in a deserted square, pigeons roosting on forgotten authority. The wanderer circles the plinth, tracing graffiti along its base. A childlike sun, the word love half dissolved by rain. Marble honor will crumble. Affection sketched in haste may outlast granite. The absurd hero notes this and chooses where to spend breath accordingly. A street cleaning truck roars past, spraying water that shimmers under arc lights. Droplets slap jacket sleeves, shocking nerves back from loftier musings into tingling present. Laughter slips out, low and unshared. Joy, freshly minted, needs no witness to validate its glow. Over a river bridge rises a cool metallic scent. Moonlight skitters across ripples, then dives beneath arching steel. Mortality leans on the railing too, silent, pointing to current that swallows city lights without ceremony. The wanderer nods, accepting the lesson. Everything moves, everything dissolves, yet motion itself sings. Mid-span, the traveler halts. Shoes plant firm, spine uncoils, gaze sweeps from skyline to star-dusted vault. A private oath sparks in the hush. Never postpone truth, never trade aliveness for approval, never let habit rehearse a funeral before the body finishes dancing. The vow needs no parchment, no applause. It writes itself into arterial rhythm. Turning toward lamplight, muscles coil with ready ease. The night offers uncountable corridors of encounter, and dawn will paint its signature whether or not anyone prepares. The absurd hero greets both with identical stance. Knees supple, heart wide, mind unclasped. The street stretches forward like living parchment wet with ink. Each footprint sets a line that glints, then fades, surrendered to memory and oblivion alike. Living, not longing, fills the pages. Beside, mortality smiles, satisfied that its presence now sparks courage instead of dread. Whoever seeks nothing owns freedom. Whoever delays nothing owns time. Dawn lays pearl mist over a hillside cemetery where the wanderer moves in measured silence. Marble stones lean at patient angles, inscriptions blurred by lichen. Breath hangs in chilled air, drifting among names folded into hush. The lesson here needs only closeness. Boots grind gravel to a bench beneath yews dark as still water. Cold seeps through fabric, tingling fingers, tightening lungs. Every sensation whispers the same syllable, finite. A distant bell counts unseen seconds, each vibration reminding flesh that its leash shortens. Rows of markers stretch away, each once hosted flowers, perhaps tears. Now moss braids through lettering. Beneath lies every story returning to dust. Realization breeds precision, not sorrow. The absurd grants freedom, yet death sharpens that freedom into diamond clarity. A robin lands on a broken angel, plucks a worm, lifts into gray air. Life devours, life departs, neither tragic nor kind. Hunger turns in the chest, no longer masked as ambition. Feeding seeks no permission. It simply replies to being alive. An old gardener trundles by with a barrow of wilted wreaths. His nod holds the calm of one who speaks daily with endings. Silence shared, he pushes on toward compost where silk roses will begin another cycle unseen. Sun edges over trees, frost on granite flaring like stray embers. The wanderer touches unreadable dates, sensing the border where history slips into myth. Here every triumphant speech, every secret regret, every whispered love bows to the same elemental hush. That hush instructs more purely than any lecture. Brevity demands intensity. Inevitability calls for vigilance. A resolve wakes in marrow. Fewer postponements, fewer words spilled to fill vacuums. Presence will dwell in bread crust crackle, in laughter muffled by scarves, and the grain of wood beneath resting elbows. Tenderness will not wait for safer hours. Leaving the bench, the traveler feels unexpected lightness, as though gravity applauds clarity. Steps ring crisp down the path, marking moments that will not be reclaimed. At the gate, the gardener raises pruning shears in quiet salute. The wanderer answers with a tilt of the hand. Beyond the iron arch, morning traffic hums, unaware of revelations behind stone walls. Death no longer stalks as hunter. It walks as unblinking mentor, keeping priorities honest. Bills will still arrive, dishes still seek soap, yet beneath those tasks beats urgent desire to taste and risk before lips stiffen. Sunlight spreads across storefront glass. Passers-by shield eyes, mimicking the gesture of turning toward radiance. The wanderer lets brightness burn vision white, trusting sight will return richer for the blaze. Death removes neither life nor strength. It erases illusion so strength can stand uncloaked. Twilight ignites the horizon with molten carmine, drifting into deep indigo overhead. The wanderer balances on a seawall, salty wind threading hair, coat snapping like a flag that bows only to pulse. Waves batter stone, burst into shards of liquid starlight, withdraw, then charge again. The scene proclaims the last revelation. Existence hands out no script, no tribunal, no backstage crew. The breathing artist alone decides where each step lands and why. Memories drift across the mind's theater, triumphs, humiliations, betrayals, tenderness. None hold dominion. They float like lanterns on dark water, beautiful yet ungraspable. The wanderer inhales brine thick with promise, lets that tide roll out, revealing a raw shoreline of possibility stretching without fences. Arms rise, not in surrender, but declaration. Muscles burn from countless miles, yet the burn feels golden, proof of chosen motion. No deity tallies this flame. No ledger binds its flare. Responsibility, once a chain, now hums as momentum. Every decision writes fresh law inside a private realm. Boots leap from seawall to sand. Impact jolts ankles, sends thrill through spine. Feet sink, grains grinding under weight, then lift free. The body begins to run, neither away nor toward, simply because muscle delights in the lyric of acceleration. Each stride stamps wet earth, prints filling with foamy applause before the next wave erases them. Impermanence deepens affection for every footprint. Breath thickens, lungs weave raw oxygen into bloodstream tapestry. Heart drums a rhythm no composer planned, yet the cosmos seems to sway to its tempo. Stars emerge, puncturing velvet sky. They shine without agenda, indifferent and perfect. The wanderer mirrors them, glowing within with equal indifference and equal perfection. At a weathered jetty the runner slows, palms resting on moss-soft timber. Salt crust sparkles like miniature constellations beneath fingertips. The sea roars approval. In that roar sounds a single decree. Craft tomorrow as dawn requests, then release it at dusk. Ownership means stewardship, never possession. Turning inland, the wanderer notices a dim trail winding through dune grass toward distant town lights. That path will host the next storyline. It may arch through poverty, love, failure, rapture. All possibilities weigh equal when chosen freely. The vow forged beside the cemetery gate still guides. Delay nothing, seek nothing, inhabit everything. Sand yields to wooden stairs, stairs to asphalt glowing amber beneath a lone lamp. The town sleeps, windows dark, dreams humming behind curtains. The wanderer enters its quiet arteries, already composing dawn. Whether crowds applaud or ignore, whether fortune blooms or withers, the narrative remains self-authored. Freedom flowers, where imposed meaning dissolves, and each heartbeat signs its own decree. The wanderer smiles, hearing invisible ink skim across unseen page with every footfall. I chose, I choose, I will keep choosing until the final line fades into honest dark. We're sure you've discovered plenty of value, so subscribe now and stay connected.